Absolutely. Hi, my name is Sherry Meyer, as you know, and I am the Global Corporate Communications head. Now, what brought me to this journey was a lot of different experiences. One as actually a manager head in HR, and then I led IT for a number of years and a global platform. And then did communications for America's SAP users group, and then finally landed here. So I get to bring all that good stuff together. And I think part of what's interesting about that is that I have met so many different people along the way, that it has really broadened my perspective. And one of the things I would always advise is, if you're working in a company, try to get experiences outside that company, by volunteering somewhere, as I did with ASUG, because that really it gets you out of that insular sense that you might have within your own company, your own group that you work with all the time. Um, and really view diversity on a very broad spectrum, not just gender, race, whatever, but really we're all different from each other. So this was many years ago when I first started working, I took a communications class, and I will never forget the one thing the woman said. She said, they had different parents than you. And she was trying to teach us to communicate in a way that others would understand. And I was like, that one simple phrase. And we often look at diversity not as that, but more as color of skin, gender, LGBTQ. It's really everything makes every single person different. And, I think for years we lived in a society and worked in a society that we expected people to fit a certain mold. If you were going to be in a corporation, you're expected to act a certain way and speak a certain way and look a certain way. And those old views are gradually falling by the wayside, thank goodness. But I think we still need to really understand that we have a long way to go. That understanding everyone is different, they had different experiences is really important. For me, as a white woman working in the States, I get recognition because I'm a female, right? And I'm a leader, and that's great. But what people don't know about me is that I am really first generation in America. And that makes a huge difference in the way I think, in my education, in my background. My parents were totally different. One was a steel worker, neither one of them graduated high school. So my upbringing, my thought process is very, very different from someone else's. And I think that's really the key to diversity is understanding people at their core, who they are.
Okay. Okay. Um, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about how do you communicate internally within Rising in terms of languages, messages, and storytelling about diversity at Rising?
Sure. It's difficult because we have so many different audiences. And the first thing you're doing when you're communicating is really saying, who is my audience? Because how am I going to speak to that person? And really, I don't have just one audience. They're all different and they all consume information in a different way because of age, because of where they work. They might be on a customer site all week long. Their influences, their personal lives all make a difference, right? So my goal has been to try to deliver content in various different media that suits them. So the one foundational thing we always do is send out emails. So we have Rising Corporate Comms that sends out emails. That's great. But not everybody reads their emails. And there's a ton of them. I don't read them all. So we try to deliver that information in different ways that different people can consume them differently. That's one. So, through Teams, Yammer, a weekly wrap up to say, hey, this week we sent out this stuff, don't miss it. We try to get to people in different ways. So the medium, how you're talking to people is the second one. When I'm writing something, I'm trying to put my different hats on, you know, not be the communications person, but be the consultant out in the field on site at a customer, be the person in Asia for whom English perhaps is not a primary language. And that, is sometimes impossible, but that's really the key to getting a diverse message out there. And then really involving people. I love that we have our culture champions, and I love this that the leadership program is doing right now because we're largely a remote company. And we rely on building relationships through virtual interactions like this, right? I have always felt very comfortable at Rising because this is a company that really uses remote communications very well. But the additions of things like the culture champions and the leadership programs and other opportunities to interact globally really make us open to what other people think and feel. And I think that's the key. But you have to engage, right? So it's up to each one of us to really take that step to engage, to be part of the culture champion initiatives, to participate when there's a keynote, to attend our all hands calls, to speak your voice and your truth. Um, Things like the women's club that's just kicking off and engaging in the book club there. I did that 1 year, and it was an opportunity to meet with people I don't work with every day, and understand who they were and what they were thinking. So that's really how I'm approaching our diversity, equity, inclusion by really pushing forward those group messages and also trying to deliver messages in ways that people will consume them and always open to receiving feedback like what would work for you.
Love it. Yeah. I think
We often think about diversity, equity, and inclusion being pushed out or led by HR. And more often currently, I'm thinking my thought process is that we each have a responsibility to share our own truth and our own story and be authentic. And that means taking a risk. It means having some courage. But the more that we are open about who we are and what we've been through or what we are passionate about, the more people can understand not just me, not just you, but that there are a variety of different viewpoints out there. And it really comes down to listening to those viewpoints.
so true. Thank you.